Today's video was selected for you by my gorgeous patrons, so thank you very much to them for making this selection. And if you would like to be involved in future video polls and also have access to the Discord, the one card riff video every month and other privileges as well, check out the tiers. I will leave all the information down below. Hey cherubs, welcome to this video where I'm going to break down some of the thoughts and feelings that I've had in recent years about aging, because I'm aging, as all humans are wont to do. And my intention is that that should not drive me crazy, make me super upset, or take up too much of my brain power and too much space in my head. So this is a very interesting one to have actually taken the lead in my Patreon video poll, because I've had the notes for this video for a really long time. Didn't know whether or not it would be, a really worthwhile video to do. I didn't know how much it would help people or how interested people would be. And to test it out, I put it into the video poll options with like 4 other videos. Whereas normally the poll is only 2 or 3 videos, right? But I wanted to put it in with like 4 other options to make sure that if it won, it would be because it was genuinely interesting. And it won by a landslide. So I want to thank my patrons, my doll faces and Pop-Tarts for choosing this video, for making me really go into these thoughts and feelings that I've been having over the course of time. And hopefully to help anyone of whatever age who is worried about further aging, because wherever we are in the life cycle, we are all continuing to age as we go along. And I know that for some people who are in their mid-40s or in their mid-50s, they're nowhere near as worried about aging as they were in their early 20s. I know some people who are in their teens who are terrified of hitting 20 and coming out of their teen years, So it really doesn't matter what age you are. Everybody can have fear of aging. And I'm hoping that some of these thoughts that I've put together will maybe comfort or help anyone. Firstly, just through offering my empathy, because I've definitely had that fear. And a lot of the thoughts and feelings that I've put down in my notes over time are relating to that fear and trying to help myself with that fear. But also maybe hopefully something I say will be of use, and will help you to kind of like alleviate that fear a little bit, because it's one of those things that is happening, It's just like fear of death. It's fear of something that is inevitable. And so I think it's really worth facing head on. So the first thing I want to say, and this is something that I think about more and more as the days go on, I'm in my late 30s now, I think more and more about the fact that I'm not going to let anyone tell me how to age. I am not interested in any of the social stigma around how people should behave when they age, what time people should stop like going into the park and sitting on the swing, for example, what age people should be when they stop having an ice cream from the ice cream van, what age I should be when I stop wearing brightly coloured clothes and cartoon backpacks and band t-shirts, none of that stuff. I'm going to wear what I want. I'm going to enjoy what I want. I'm going to carry on having my teddy bears for the rest of my life, okay? I love teddy bears. That's just how it is. And that's how it's going to stay. I do not believe in putting childish things away. I don't even believe that something is innately childish if you enjoy it as an adult. Ice cream is not just the domain of children, okay? Jumping on a bouncy castle, having a bouncy castle at your birthday party, that's not childish if you're doing it in your 40s or 50s or 60s, okay? It just happens to be something that you enjoy, that is playful and beautiful and joyous and carefree, that kids also tend to enjoy. So I even try to rile against the notion that I'm childish because of my presentation or because of the things I enjoy, because I play with dolls, that kind of thing. And I do, okay? One of my poppets is in fact a doll. I will insert a cutaway here so you can see a photo of one of my poppets, which is a representation of me, okay? She has different clothes. I don't have the bangs anymore, but they might be coming back at a certain point. So yeah, I refuse to let myself feel or let anyone make me feel as though there is some way to age and I'm not towing the line. If I'm not towing the line in some way, then believe me, it's not a line that I want to tow, and so I won't be towing it. So yeah, I'm not going to let anyone else tell me how to age. When it comes to the clothing particularly, when it comes to the style particularly, I have this very strong feeling that a lot of the people who are older, a lot of the women, for example, the cis women, for example, who are postmenopausal, I have a feeling that they used to dress differently. I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that a lot of older women have fallen prey to the social stigma around bright colours, revealing clothing, exciting childish clothing, clashing colours, sportswear, stuff like that. I feel like they've told themselves that there's a certain age by which they need to put away their flamboyant clothing, their beautiful dresses, their jewelry, their red lipstick, whatever it might be. And I've definitely spoken to a few older women in my family and that I've met over time who say that they definitely feel that they can't wear red lipstick, and that flamboyance is something that they had to leave behind in their youth, and that they remember their sort of free-flowing flamboyance, but they don't have it now. Not for me, baby. I will not be signing up for that, okay? I am going to go full-on baddie winkle until I'm dead. I am not putting colours away. I do not believe in that horrible misogynistic saying of like a woman being mutton dressed as lamb. In other words, an older woman wearing things that should only be the domain of women in their youth. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit for life. Fuck it forever. Like, that's just not me. I'm not going to age that way. I am not going to be told what I can wear. The band t-shirts, the sports track jackets, the jewelry that I own now, the rings. I've owned this ring for like 15 years. Okay, this is my rave ring. These things, I hope I have them in my 70s, in my 80s, if I'm blessed to live that long. I hope I have all those things. I'm not getting rid of any of it. I'm wearing all of it, you know? If I can still fit in it, I'm wearing it, okay? And if not, I might cut it up and customize it into something else. But I am not intending to wind down. I'm not intending to tell myself that there's some end to my days of dressing playfully and experimenting with color and all that kind of thing. I think that's so insidious, and I think it's a way to make women feel small after they've lost that social currency of their youthful looks. And I am not about it. I am dead against it. And I think we all should be. And this is regardless of gender, but let's face it, there's a lot of messaging around this for women. And I have noticed that, and I don't appreciate it. All right. My Nana was wearing her loud, beautiful floral frocks, rocking her red lipstick, having her nails beautifully manicured and painted for church. Like, I mean, literally, I watched very closely a woman who still kept all her jewelry, rocked her heels for New Year's Eve, all that stuff. Like, she was done up. She was, how do we call it? Like, she scrubbed up well, okay? And this is a hardy working class Liverpudlian woman who lived through the war and really was beautiful for church, beautiful. And I just was really inspired by that. I used to play with her jewelry. I used to go into her bedroom. She had this beautiful dressing table and I'd play with her jewelry. I'd put her frocks on. I'd wear her heels and I'd look in the mirror and I'd think, I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait to rock all this shit. I can't wait to have the wardrobe that I really, really want, you know, that has all my special things in it. And I will be damned if I'm going to get older and take that away from myself. I waited a long time to curate my wardrobe to perfection, and I watched an older woman do it upright, and that's exactly how I'm going to do it too. So that's first thing. Okay, let me get that well out of the way. So the next thing I want to talk about a little bit, darlings, is planning for my twilight years. I don't want to actually plan too much for my twilight years because I don't want to miss the present by worrying about what's going to happen in the future. I don't want to worry too much or become really consumed with concerns about what's going to happen when I'm older. I don't know if I'm going to make it to when I'm older. And that's kind of the hedonistic present time perspective that I tend to go with. But I'm no fool, and I know that I might make it till I'm older. And of course, I certainly hope I do. So there are a few different things that I do keep in mind and that I am planning for. I run my own business. I'm self-employed. So I have come to the point in my late 30s where I am considering what the future is going to look like from a financial standpoint. I'm not going to sit here and go through all the things that I've been thinking and planning and wondering about because that's a totally separate video and it really might not interest everybody. But definitely I have been doing some thinking around that. I definitely want to remain self-employed and I want to remain doing what I'm doing and hopefully doing more things and writing more books and, you know, hopefully teaching workshops and stuff online and in person for a long time yet. So I want to make sure that at the end of all of that, I'm not stuck for money when I'm in my later years and I can't be as active, right? So definitely thinking about that. There's also a degree of planning that is associated with my workouts and my gym routine, you know, my lifting weights, my cardio, my Pilates. First of all, for those who do not know, I know a lot of you do know, but I do have a back injury that I sustained when I was 19 in a snowboarding accident. It only actually really came back to haunt me in my mid-20s. But when it came back to haunt me, darlings, it was really a symphony of ghosts. I mean, it haunted me. I spent 5, nearly 6 years not being able to always walk very well. on lots of painkillers, discussing surgery with my doctors. And you can watch some videos about that. I have at least one video about my chronic pain, if not two. I'll put down below. I've been on YouTube a long time, darling, so I can't remember my whole back catalogue, but there's definitely one video specifically about my chronic pain with my back injury. If you're interested, I'll leave it below. But essentially, because of that, I am aware that at any time in the future, my back problem could come back to haunt me. So I've already been very, very proactive about making sure that my core is nice and strong. And the other reason related to planning that I go to the gym frequently and I try to firm myself up is because I don't want to be infirm when I'm older. I don't want to be subject to some of the issues around that. Now, it's not always something a person can control, but I think it's very much fair to say that going and having like regular use of the gym, you know, really just stretching your muscles and making sure that you're moving around every day and you're having your cardio, you're getting exercise for your heart. I think it's more than fair to say that that will have a beneficial effect on you long term, and it will put you into a stronger position for when you start to age. So there's definitely an element of planning in there. A lot of the time when I'm at the gym, I'm doing something for the future Kellyanne. You know, it's a gift to her, and I hope she uses it well. And it's really just making sure that I don't find that age starts to really hit me physically because I haven't done that work with the core. I haven't been working with my muscle groups. I haven't been embodied. There are a lot of different reasons why I go to the gym. A lot of it is concerned with mental health. When I have depression, I do get body dysmorphia, and I will talk about that in another video. I've been really meaning to discuss that frankly with you guys. And so going to the gym, feeling embodied, appreciating my body for what it can do rather than what it looks like, and really admiring my body for the challenges that I can put it through and the way that it responds is a really good way for me to be embodied when I'm finding that really difficult to do. But there is definitely an element, and there's a spiritual element too with my gym usage. There's a lot of different parts to it. But there's definitely one element that is for the future Kellyanne, you know, the older me that maybe can't be as mobile, but definitely benefits from the many years that I spent putting in time at the gym and putting in time on the mat doing Pilates and stuff. So that's definitely a form of planning. I've also thought about, and this is not something that I've like brought in to my life so far, but I've thought about that death cleaning. I'm going to try to pronounce it, but I know I'm going to butcher it. So if somebody can help me, I think it's a Swedish word, and it's dostanding, or is that an Englishification of it? That seems like it's an Englishification of a Scandi word to me. But essentially, it's basically death cleaning, right? So it's getting rid of your stuff in advance of your death so that you lessen the burden on those who survive you. You know, so it's really about making sure that you don't die and leave rooms and rooms of things, knickknacks, bric-a-brac, you know, old tickets, old clothing, photographs, utensils, things that then will have a lot of emotional weight to those who are clearing out your space. But they have to then go through the difficulty of, like, you know, going through things, selling things, throwing things away, recycling things, which puts a massive burden on them. I like the idea of getting into the twilight years and kind of starting to purge things. Of course, I could die any time. I mean, after the year I had last year, let's say I know that better than anyone. But I do think as I'm starting to approach my late 30s, I'm like, what things could be, you know, surplus to requirements? What things could I make sure that I get rid of as I start to get older and older? And I'm not thinking that I'm going to die of old age anytime soon, darlings. I know I'm still in my prime, okay? I feel so much more energetic and together and sexy than I did in my late 20s, all right? The 30s are all to play for, darlings. I mean, I have loved my 30s. My 30s have been far more successful, far more stable, and far more riveting and sumptuous than my 20s, where I was still going through quite a lot of emotional upheaval, still finding myself quite a bit. The 30s have been good to me, okay? So I'm not saying like, oh, I'm getting all rickety and I need to figure out how to sell all my things. I don't think that, okay, at all. But I think it's an interesting concept. I like the concept. I like what it means. I like the responsibility that it asks you to take, and I like the realism of it, you know? So who knows, maybe I'll become a minimalist when I'm in my like 60s or 70s or whatever, and I start to really think about dying. Maybe I'll actually become a minimalist. Like, that seems really that seems completely not me, but who knows? Maybe I'll be like, oh, I've got to get rid of this. Don't worry, I'll be definitely giving this to someone who will appreciate it. But yeah, I guess I just got a lot of things. I've got a lot of knickknacks, darlings. I've got a lot of things. So I definitely think about that. One of the ways in which I plan for my old age is through doing what I set my heart on now. I have said often to people that a lot of the things I fill my time with and a lot of the ambitions that I give myself to, I do those things because I do not want deathbed Kellyanne to regret having not done them. Genuinely, I'm doing it for the future me. I'm doing it for the me that is like really in the winter of life and wishing, you know, that she'd done these certain things. I don't want that for her. I want the version of me when I'm like much older to look back and say, I did the damn thing and no one can take that from me. I did as much as I could with the money and the energy and the body that I had. I just really want that for myself. No more, no less. I know that I'm not going to look back and be disappointed about the things I didn't do because I genuinely couldn't do them. You know, they weren't within my remit, but there's a lot I can do within my remit. There's a lot that is within my power, within my reach. And I do not want to get to my deathbed and recognize that I held myself back for some reason. And that's not to say that I don't have any resistance to things. It's not to say that I don't have any problems with some of the things that I want to get done. But with every ounce of my daring and with every ounce of my strength, I want to get the things done that I know I'll be glad I did in the winter of my life. So that's a form of planning as well. I'm not going to be one of those older people who is completely jaded about the younger generation. I'm not going to be one of those people who just dislikes everything about what the youth are doing, has loads of criticism for the youth, is completely irritated by everything they're interested in. One of those people that's like, in my day, it was so much better. In my day, this never happened. They don't know what they don't know their arse from their elbow. In my day, everything was like this and it was right and it was pure and it was good and it had meaning, or we worked harder, or things were better, or things were more interesting, or no one understands. I really, really, really don't want to end up like that. I may have some critiques of the youth, but they will be very conscious, okay? They will be conscious, and I will not be tarring every single person in that generation with the same brush. I will not be saying all of them, you know? I don't want to put everybody in the same group. I definitely want to be observant of things that are happening in the generations beneath me. And if I have some critiques, then fine, I have some critiques. But I'm very conscious of being one of those older people who flat out just generalizes, judges everybody. Not good. I definitely don't want to be that way, you know, and I want to remember how I felt when I was younger, and I felt supremely judged by older people and misjudged quite often, misinterpreted quite often. Older people would assume that I didn't know anything about the history of my country, about what it was like when I was a baby, about what it was like during the war, you know. They assumed that I hadn't read any history. They assumed that I didn't know about music or drugs or culture or books, you know. They just absolutely decided that because I was younger, I didn't have a portal into what they understood. And that was not true. I was a well-read, highly precocious child and teenager and young 20-something. And I did feel patronised and I did feel belittled. I felt looked down on. And I know from interacting with people that are 10 or 15 years younger than me now online that there are so many younger people who understand so much shit that happened before they were born. And they're really interested in so much of it. And they are well-read and they are geeky. And they have got their finger on the pulse, you know. So age ain't nothing but a number, baby. You know, and I definitely fell victim to older people not recognizing that when I was younger. So I'm not going to make the same mistake. Like I said, do I have some critiques? Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying I don't sometimes have certain critiques about the way the younger generation might view things or what they do on social media or their attitude to things. But I don't want to be I don't want to generalize, you know, I really don't want to do that. And I really want people to feel that I'm approachable as well. And this kind of leads into my attitude towards watching a new generation of witches come to the online space. You know, I've been in the online space in the witchy realm since like 2008, 2009. I was lurking a little bit before that, but I started posting on the forums in 2008. I started my YouTube channel in 2012. I started my tarot blog in 2011. So I've watched this whole other generation of witches now come to the fore and build thriving businesses and have thriving brands and have big voices in the community. And, you know, so I definitely want to be interested in that and observant of that and learn from that. I was speaking to a client a while ago, and they were talking about how they feel about starting a business and putting their voice out there and getting into the community and stuff. And they were talking about how they were nervous about their youth and they felt like it was a mark against them and it was something that prohibited them from coming forward with their voice. And I was like, your youth is a power. Your youth is an incredible power. Do you know how many things I've had to look up online that just come naturally to you? Do you know how long it takes me to get my head around this new tech and these new sayings? Do you know what it's like to have to Google no cap to figure out what the fuck that means? Don't worry, no cap. I know what that means now, no cap. But yeah, like I was kind of stressing to this person that you are in the nucleus of a bunch of things that somebody like me might be quite outside of naturally and would have to really learn and come to grips with. I'm watching people be very comfortable with different areas of culture and technology and stuff that have not come naturally to me. I'm not in that realm. I have to learn, to the extent that I wish to learn, but like I do wish to learn, and it's not something that comes naturally, and it's taking over, and it's big, and it's something you need to know. And I really had a breakthrough with this client where they recognized for the first time that their youth is a power, and that it's good. It's good to have youth on your side. It's good to be able to come in with fresh eyes and a fresh voice, and actually that there is a way in which that client is ahead of me, and they should use that. They should celebrate that. They should have that to their advantage, So yeah, I definitely want to elevate the youth, and I definitely want to be approachable if I can be, I don't want to gatekeep. I really don't want to generalize what I feel about everybody in the generation below me. I really want that to be an ongoing attitude for me. I want to make sure that I keep in contact with my friends and that I keep making an effort over the course of time. I do understand that people grow apart from each other as they get older. Their interests change, they're going through different things in life. There might be very legitimate reasons why they don't keep in touch. But with me and my loved ones, I want to make sure that we grow apart because we should have naturally grown apart, and that it makes sense that we grew apart. I don't want us to have grown apart because I stopped checking in. That's really important to me. And that's not only because I value my friends and loved ones so much and I'm very friend oriented, but also because it makes sense for me, right? I am unmarried and I do not plan to get married. I'm unattached now for a couple of years. Don't know how much longer it will be that I'm romantically unattached, but I'm cool with it so far. I never plan on having children. So, I know a lot of people, when they have children and grandchildren and stuff, they have this relief. So they understand that they will have a network, they have an infrastructure of some kind. I know people also feel that from being deep into religious community. They feel like there's this back and forth and this beautiful exchange and this feeling that you will not be left alone if you are old and infirm, or if your partner dies or something, you will still have people there for you. But I don't have those things. And so it's also really of practical interest to me that I make sure that my friendships continue to count. And most of my friends are also child-free people. A lot of my friends have made that decision. So I think it's really mutually important and beneficial for us all to make sure that we don't lose those ties. I really want to keep them strong. I think for me, one thing that's really helped with this particular aim is that I have really accepted a lot more the type of communicator that I am. And I don't get too stressed out about that anymore. I don't worry about it that much. I've been honest with my friends about the fact that I'm not an everyday back and forth communicator usually. I will leave things for a few days or even for a few weeks if there's no immediate need to get back in touch. And I will probably get to you when I've got a number of things that I want to update you on, and then I will reply to your update, and it will go back and forth like that. Some people that I've spoken to about my kind of on and off communication style have felt freed and liberated by that, because they're the same, but they worry about being that way. They worry about offending a friend, by not being available enough. So when I've explained to my friends about how I've realized that I am with communication, some of them really feel liberated by that. I definitely think I may have, distance from one or two people who felt like I wasn't available enough, but it's really good for me that I've been honest about what goes on with me and communication. And if you want to know more about that, I'll leave a video down below that I made all all about my communication anxiety, the reasons why I think that I have communication anxiety and how I deal with it. But it's definitely been a part of my reality now since about 2014 or 2015. I noticed that a lot of it came to the fore when I started to go full time with my business. And that's partly because I communicate so much for my business, right? I'm having very, very deep conversations, sometimes very intense, very sort of like vulnerable, healing oriented conversations most days of the week, right? And I work very hard and I work very diligently with my clients and I love my work, but there has to be some kind of regrouping back to me after I have all of those calls. And so I'm not going to then sit down and try and get back to 5 or 6 messages or whatever. It's not going to work like that, you know. It's got to be something that's more in keeping with the flow that I need to maintain to do my job well. So realizing that, and also recognizing that I was just putting pressure on myself that really didn't need to be there if I would just be honest with my friends about the kind of communicator that I am, that really helped, you know. And it's made me realize that actually I can keep my friends over a really long period of time and celebrate those friendships and stuff without feeling like I really need to carve myself into a different shape in order to communicate enough to keep them. Because I don't want to do that, but I do want to keep my friends. I love my friends. I adore my friends. They mean everything to me, you know, they are my family. So it's been really good to just be honest with them and with myself about what I need in communication and what I'm not going to be able to give to someone, and to have them sort of like reflect back to me that that's okay. So now I feel a lot more confident that I'll be able to keep my friends into old age. And another thing I want to say about friendship before I move on to the next point is that I don't want to stop making new friends when I get into older age. I know that a lot of people say that it's more difficult to make new friends. I've got a few different ideas of how I would make new friends as I get older. I really want to keep putting myself out there. I don't want to shut down to the notion of new friends just because like I've got the friends I like and we're there for each other and that's it. So it's like I'm full kind of thing. I'm like friendship saturated. No, I really want to keep my eyes open and keep my heart open for other people that could come into my life, whether they're from the younger generation or the same age as me, same age group as me. I'm definitely up for making younger friends for sure. And I'm definitely up for making friends my own age. And I will really try consciously to keep doing that as I get older. I've spent quite a bit of time, you know, working through my feelings about being a woman and aging publicly. And I did talk about that in my recent video about shadow working my own identity, which I'll leave down below. You can go to the timestamp that's about aging, and there's quite a lot of information there about how I feel. And I do get quite emotional in that segment of the video. It is quite personal to me, and I was really being vulnerable there. So take from that what you will. I want to be a realist, okay? I want to be very real about ageism. I want to be very real about the fact that women are consistently pumped full of shitty conditioning about the fact that their youth equals their power and that their youth is their social currency and that they cannot lose their youth and they have to do all these crazy things to make sure that they keep looking youthful and they do not visibly age. I want to be a realist about the fact that I live in a world where those things are happening. And I also want to make sure that I do not let that take over and let that really sort of like damage my view of the beauty of getting older and how I feel about it personally. I want to keep working through my feelings, and I want to recognize that just because I'm a public advocate for self-love does not mean that I will not feel some grief about my youth fading physically, visibly. Yeah. I mean, for a long time, I felt this real guilt and this real conflict around it. I was thinking, well, who are you to be talking about self-love like every single September and in all these different videos, you know, like really driving the point home? Who are you to do that if you cannot handle the notion of getting older? If you really have these dreads about it sometimes and you feel really scared of it, who are you to be talking about self-love? But you know what? I want to be honest about the fact that there is no way for most women that they can go through this kind of time in their life without having some kind of feeling of grief. And I want to acknowledge that grief. I want to sit in the discomfort of that grief. I want to know that that's part of the journey. It does not make me unself-loving. It only makes me unself-loving if I give into it time after time. And I let magazines and websites and advertising companies and cosmetics companies and plastic surgery people and influencers, if I let them tell me that it's true that my visible youth is my only currency and that without that I don't have worth, that's where I've become unself-loving. But I don't think it's actually unself-loving to recognize that this is a difficult period for me sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes, and that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. I think the way that I've tried to turn it around and change it and use it to my advantage is to speak about it. I just want to be real about it. And I've been real about it before. I've talked about it before in previous videos. I talked about it a long time ago in my shadow work course that I did, my very first video course that I did called 29 Shadows. For those of you who are 29 Shadows alumni who bought that course, thank you so much. Love you. I will be doing a lot more pre-recorded video courses this year, darling. So look out for that. There's going to be lots of pre-recorded video course goodness coming. But yeah, I have talked about it on and off. I've been honest about it, but I think I really hit on something with that video about shadow working my identity, and I went into it there. So if you want more on this, then definitely click to that video. I know that as someone gets older, there's definitely this danger of disappearing into this bubble of the past and nostalgia and just sticking with what you know and sticking with what's familiar because you like it and you know that it does the trick, and you don't actually go out in search of different things. And I definitely want to make sure that I avoid that. The older I get, the more I still want to be looking for like new music and new styles of art, you know, and new kind of like genres of things. I want to keep my finger on the pulse. I want to be interested in what's coming out and what is being added to the genres and the areas that I love, you know, rather than just being like, I'm going to stick to this. It's what I know, it's what I love, and that's what I'm only going to listen to, or that's what I'm only going to read, you know. Those are the only conversations I'm going to have. Those are the only like witchy influences I'm going to follow or whatever. I definitely want to just keep looking out for fresh talent, new ideas, new concepts that are coming into the zeitgeist, and definitely don't get stuck in that comfortable bubble. I see myself doing that sometimes with music. I will always be someone who returns to the music that I love, okay? I'll always have time every single week for albums that are like 20 years old that I adored in my teens, and I will listen to them, definitely. Just today on my way home from seeing my friend, I was like smashing some really old Deftones, and I will never ever stop like listening to the old stuff that gets to me, right, that came out in the mid-90s and stuff. By the way, if you haven't heard Adrenaline by Deftones, do yourself a favour. It is, oh my god, if you don't write a poem after listening to that, you're probably dead, or you just don't like metal, which is fair. So yeah, basically I'll always have time for that. I'll always celebrate that, you know. But every so often when I want to stick on like an old hip hop album, like every so often when I want to listen to Liquid Swords again or whatever, I think to myself, have you got time to listen to some new stuff? You know, there's loads of new stuff going on. There's lots of new things happening. And I challenge myself, you know, because it can get comfortable to just be in your little bubble with the old stuff. And I think for me, like for a lot of people, the COVID pandemic, the lockdowns and everything, it led a lot of people back into serious nostalgia and a deep appreciation for what has already been, for times past. And I think that happened to a lot of people with a lot of things, a lot of people getting in touch with friends from their past, a lot of people digging up old albums from their teens and listening to them. And I think I got stuck there a little bit. I loved that. You know, that was one of the only silver linings of the complete clusterfuck that was the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything. But I think I might have got a little bit too comfortable there. So I've made a real effort in the last couple of years to really like let myself absorb sumptuous new stuff. And it helps a lot that I go out and I hear new music when I'm out. You know, hear new music in shops, hear new music in clubs, you know, I go into pubs and I can hear new stuff and it's great. So yeah, I think like that really helps. Just for an example, like a couple of months ago, I was in London, in my favourite part of London, in Brick Lane, and that's an amazing part of London. And I was going in and out of the shops, and every single awesome shop that me and my friend went into, they were playing Ice Spice. And like just this epic track with this deep bone crunching soul fillingly epic bass, and I loved her voice, and everything was off, everything was going off about this track. It was just perfect, and they were playing it in every single shop. You know, you go into a vintage place, you go into a skate shop, you go into a jewelry store, and they were all playing it at maximum volume. And so I just like googled some of the lyrics and I listened to that on the way home, and I listened to everything else that she's put out so far, and I'm excited for her album now. It's just stuff like that where you could come across something that's obviously new and obviously popping and down with the kids, and you could say whatever to that, like I like it but it's not worth like looking into. Or you could make like me and be like, who is this, what is happening here, this is epic, and really let yourself get into it, and then look at other artists that are like that artist and see what else is happening around that, you know? So I try and always do that. I try and still, you know, if I see like a new art magazine at Tate Modern or in just a new thing happening in art, I will try and like get into that. I try to read a lot of articles that are about what is happening right now, in the moment, you know? So yeah, I try my best. I basically just don't want to check out of contemporary culture. That's basically what I'm saying. And the very last thing that I want to say, darlings, about aging like a sage and what I've really tried to bring to this mentality, you know, is that I don't ever want to forget that aging is a privilege. Not everybody gets to do it. Not everybody gets to do it. Many lives are cut short early in the game. And so I really don't want to forget that as I'm going through any pain around aging, any like really difficult nostalgic feelings, any fear. I know I'll feel those things. I want to sit in that discomfort. It's okay. It's natural. But I must never forget that every single sunrise that I see, every single sunset that I encounter is so fortunate and is such a privilege. And there are so many people on earth, myself included, who fucking wish that they had seen others that they love get to see those same sunrises and sunsets, and it didn't happen. So it really is important to grasp the reality of that. And I think I used to do that before, but I really do that now. Death does not hold off until you're ready. It never does. And to be honest with you, like whenever I have those difficult experiences around aging, I want to think about the fact that there are so many people who didn't get to live to even assess their response to that experience, you know, to even have the decadence of sitting down like I am now and doing a video about what they feel about potentially aging. It just wasn't given to them. You know, life was cut short. So I really just want to be privileged for every year. And I know that as I get older, yes, I'm going to have those moments where it's really sobering and really difficult. But I hope that amongst that, there's going to be these beautiful jewels and these beautiful glittered moments where I say, I'm so grateful for this day. I'm grateful for another day. I'm grateful for what I could learn. I'm grateful for feeling the rain on my skin. I'm grateful for this music that I can listen to right now. I'm just grateful for the human experience because I know that I may not have had this day, you know? So I do want to be really aware of that. And with that, my darlings, I hope that you have enjoyed my thoughts about aging like a sage. Thank you again to my Pop-Tarts and Doll Faces on Patreon for voting for this video in the video poll. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can find the details down below. Please be aware that we always charge on the first day of every new month, okay? So if it's approaching near the end of the month, you really might want to wait until after when a new month has begun so that you don't get charged twice really close together, okay? That's really important. But yeah, please do check out the different advantages to being a patron. I put some beautiful things in the Patreon. You know, we have polls, you have discount codes, you have one card riff every month. You know, if you're a Pop-Tart, you have 2 lives with me every single month where we can engage and chat about stuff. So yeah, please do consider it if you have a little bit of spare money and you think you would want to interact with my world and my community more. Please let me know down below, do you resonate with anything that I said in this video? Is there anything that you can give us as you know, an older person who feels like they've had more experience with fear of aging? Is there anything that you want to say about anything that I've put in this video? If you want to disagree with me, I'm all here for that completely. And if you want to say anything at any single age that you are about your experience of fearing the future and fearing what will happen, please don't be shy. Let yourself be vulnerable. It's usually a really nice comment section where everybody plays nice. But if not, I know what to do and I will definitely be coming along and policing and modding. Okay, so don't be afraid to get vulnerable in the comments if you feel you need that. Much love, darlings, and I will look forward to reading what you have to say. Blessed be. Mwah.